Today on the Working Cows podcast, we're talking to Derek Schwanebeck about what continuing education has helped him discover about himself.
Well, if it's not a gift, it's certainly a passion. I just love looking at the grass, wherever it is, what's down there, what's going on, how is it feeling? Um, and so getting exposed to those things, I got pretty excited about it. I just didn't know I was excited about it until I'd been exposed to them. There was a lot to learn, and it was all over Nebraska, and Nebraska is not all the same. There are so many different ways to graze in Nebraska.
But it's done more than just help him figure out that he was passionate about grass.
Figuring out what kind of leader you are.
Mm.
For me, I'm fine being the leader. I want everybody on my team to think big picture. They need to be autonomous. I want autonomous people where my biggest job is making sure they have everything they need to do their job, and they don't have to call me twice in one day and ask me, "Where's my stuff? I'm waiting for you." So I don't care when they get up or when they go to bed. I'm just interested in results.
All that and more on this episode 524 of the Working Cows podcast, brought to you by 100th Meridian Ranching and Dominion Wealth.
Welcome to the podcast that gives producers a platform to discuss and share paradigm-challenging practices. Practices that have increased the effectiveness of their operation and the joy that their families have received from this lifestyle.
Howdy, everybody. It's Clay Connery, host of the Working Cows podcast. Very excited to welcome back once again Derek Schwanebeck. I think it might have been episode 9 of the Working Cows podcast. I had him on, and we'll talk a little bit about it here in the course of this episode. But part of my introduction to this way of thinking, this way of ranching, came from Derek Schwanebeck. So been grateful to him, thankful for him for a long time, and this is just a real fun conversation about Derek's journey into continuing education, the value of lifelong learning, the difference that it's made in his life, and some of the mindsets and attitudes that help facilitate lifelong learning. So look forward to sharing with you this conversation with Derek Schwanebeck. Derek, thanks for joining me again on the Working Cows podcast. Welcome back.
It's an honor to be on your podcast. This is really cool.
Yeah, a long time appreciator of you and your work, all the way back to the High Plains Ranch practicum. I'll never forget. I think you were in the second group of presentations that we saw, and you're just showing us pictures of grazing around the outside of, those sandhills, shallow lakes, right? Wet spots. I don't know what you call them there, but and you're taking pictures of. I think it was probably rebar posts with insulators screwed onto the top of them. And you said, "Oh, there's more haying equipment," and just that whole perspective change for me, of what a cow can do. And God gave them 4 legs and a mouth and a ruminating vat, and they can do the work. We don't have to be out there breaking our backs to put up hay to feed them all winter and all those kinds of things. So that was one of my early tastes of this whole journey I've been on for the last almost 9 years now. So
oh wow,
yeah, 9 years in November. So, but today I wanted to talk to you about lifelong learning, and wanted to kind of take a little bit of a different approach on it and just talk about your journey and your story and some of the ways that you've been educated. And if I'm not mistaken, there is Marine Corps service in your past. Is that right?
Yes.
Have you seen that education that came there, whether it was in a classroom or in a, in a barracks or wherever you were? Have you seen that education continue to be fruitful throughout your life?
Absolutely. Especially for me. I was respectful, but other than that, a punk. The older I get, the more I realize, boy, I was an absolute idiot. But I already had respect, but I didn't know how to work I knew how to work hard, but I don't know. There was lots of negative lessons like poor leadership, different things that I got to see firsthand. Like, well, I don't ever want to be that guy. But mostly I just grew up and I learned a lot, communication and how big the world was and small at the same time. Traveling overseas really helped us just solidify how blessed we are.
Yeah. Yeah, for
But
sure.
there's yeah, good classes in there. Some of the military classes were like, "This is a screwdriver," Okay, half an hour on screwdrivers, this is gonna be fun. But then that's the real everybody learns differently.
Yeah. And I always point out to people, John Wooden, greatest basketball coach maybe ever, right? UCLA. First day, and these guys are the elite of the elite coming out of high school into the UCLA program. First day, first lesson, this is how you tie your shoes. And this is a basketball, and like they're probably thinking, well, I don't need to know that. I already know that. But his idea was, if you don't know how to tie your shoes, your feet are going to get sore, and then you won't be any good to the team. So I'm going to teach you the right way to tie your shoes so your feet don't get sore, so that you could be a part of this team. And I think that's something that we can probably glean something from, right?
Yeah.
Never be too educated to learn something, even if you think it's basic, to learn it from a new angle or new perspective.
I think that's, we've got this grazing school coming up, right? And I just learned yesterday that A.B. Cox is gonna be attending the school. And, like, he could teach this school for Pete's sake. And I know him. I know he's coming there, and he knows he's gonna learn something new. And it's like, yeah, there's always something, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. No, there's always something. So, did you go Marine Corps right out of high school?
I did. What did I boy, I was so ignorant. It's kind of a fun, scary story. I signed up when I was a junior, um, and called an open contract. So I actually had really good test scores and some pretty neat stuff. I didn't know that, but open contract in the Marine Corps is like, yeah, I was going to carry a rifle and get shot at. I could have done intelligence, all kinds of stuff. I didn't have a very good recruiter, but I, and I also just say that was God's path. I ended up in the air wing because they were like, "Hey, you did really good in boot camp. What? Here, let's go pick something for somebody who dropped out." And so I went to the air wing because I wanted to be a pilot. I learned to be an electrician. It was really cool stuff. Now, and this is kind of mean to say, but if you've gone through some schools in the military, for most of the corporate world, you could just show up. There'd be 20 people with a job application, be like, "Yeah, I was in the military," and they're like, "Yeah, you're in. We'll take you." And but that's a really nice ace in the hole for 4 years of getting paid to travel the world and learn stuff.
Let's take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsor today, 100th Meridian Ranching. My dad always said he wished there was a shot he could give bulls to make them take a 9-month nap. At 100th Meridian Ranching, they have something like that through their bull leasing program. Think about it. You can skip the bull sale, the risk of injured bulls, and the headache of year-round feeding, all while having access to bulls that fit your environment. They have over 500 to choose from in Black Angus, Red Angus, Charolais, and Hereford. This can improve your cash flow, grow your margins, and keep your operation flexible. The bulls are delivered right when you need them, so they aren't standing around eating unnecessary feed, tearing each other up, or your facilities. I leased a bull from them. They were great to work with and sent me a bull with genetics that didn't require a mixer wagon to stay fleshy. He truly was one of the most Bondsma-type bulls I've ever seen in person. Find 100th Meridian Ranching on Facebook or Instagram, visit 100thmeridianranching.com, or give Lane a call to find out more. One of the biggest things that I have seen the benefits of military service is mental toughness. And the way I always illustrate that is a guy that I used to, so my wife and I owned a coffee shop for 10 years in Belfouche, and we had a regular who was a Navy veteran, and he would come through every day and get 2 shots of espresso and chug them. Sometimes if it was hot, we'd pour them over ice and he'd chug them that way. And he was always either on a run or on his bike when he came through. And this guy liked to brew beer. And so he drank a lot of beer, and so it wasn't like a picture of he wasn't a chiseled specimen, but we both entered a 110-mile gravel bike road race, and he rode that 110-mile course on a fat bike, which is a bike that's
Yeah.
designed to be ridden in snow. So it's got really big, fat, wide tires. Well, if you know anything about physics, more surface area, more resistance. And, you know, um, he wasn't like in that great a shape. It was just, he knew how to not quit, you know, and yeah, I think that a lot of that comes from, because I knew him in high school. And I think a lot of that mental toughness comes from military service, right? Would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that, but in my experience, I see a lot of people, this is very judgmental, but in between the mountain ranges, the folks from the Midwest or the smaller communities, the ag-based communities, are just the military corporations love most of these young people come out with a don't quit, pretty heavy work ethic. Maybe softer than they were back in the '80s, but they're still, my opinion. Yeah, military definitely helps. There's an attitude where you just don't back down.
Right. Right. What was your agricultural experience prior to going into the Marine Corps?
Oh, that's a fun one, man. How was it? Back to that idiot. We could go with something softer, like extreme ignorance. I got to work on a ranch. Oh, I think I was between freshman and sophomore year, and we were putting up hay, and Mr. Spear had this big hay buster. It's a portable stacker, right? And his wife would make us these amazing lunches. And we're eating lunch one day, and he said, normal day, he's picking clover out of this stacker, the upright thing, and he's all mad and saying bad words. And I'm like, clover, right? Can't you spray and kill that stuff? I mean, that's so absolutely ignorant, and he was patient with me, but I could stay on a horse. Yeah, I hadn't. I mean, that the opposite of that, I've probably said this before, is getting into ranching. What I didn't know was the unfair advantage that I had. I
Mhm.
didn't know how it was ever done. I mean, I absolutely didn't know jack. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. That is a helpful thing. Sometimes your biggest limitation is what you do know and what you think you know,
Yeah.
and not being able to get past that, right? So where did your ranching education start? I mean, that of course is the seed, right? But like, where did it start for you after the Marine Corps and maybe getting into actual into ranching and some of those things?
Oh, we had a chance to come back to the ranch, or Lisa's parents' ranch, in '93. I'd gotten some other classes with welding and all kinds of different things. I was working on animal husbandry myself, but I think the first year I went to Graham School. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Uh, Down in Kansas, learn how to, pregnancy test cows, a whole lot of quick stuff in a short amount of time. But it was all hands on, and I learned a lot there. That led to more anything extension, so, free stuff put on, or there was meals. Well, I don't know. It just I used to sit at the Brandon tables with the old guys or the older guys and just listen. That was a big education. Just figuring out, or call them up and ask them what they thought about something. They were usually very patient and wanting to tell me their opinion anyway.
Yeah,
That was, I don't know. Just always trying to absorb and learn and get get better at what we were doing.
sure. And what was kind of the fruit of that, or the state of the ranch? I mean, was everything going well and profitable and the people were happy and all those things?
Oh, it was a really conventional ranch, and well, it's had a family corporation kind of problem for a long, long time. So happy people is interesting concept. But on the ranch itself, it wasn't bad. They were raising calves, 450-pound calves in the fall and calve in April. Mostly did range a lot through the winter and then supplement hay and protein. That very, very normal sandhill stuff. But I was starting to learn on rotation, crossbreeding, how to pick a bull and not have calving issues. That was kind of big for me. Obviously, fertility, how to get a better breed up, keep the cows in the herd. Started culling. Really focused a lot on genetics really fast, long before I ever started focusing on grass.
Were all that education, was that facilitated through extension?
I think most was. Early on, I can't think of anything else right off. Well, ABS would definitely had a school. Did I even say that right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if you're talking about
So,
the seed stock company.
yeah, AI. Yeah, AI school and just learning more about how to raise better cattle.
ABS, they like I said, seed stock AI company. I used to drive back and forth to Wisconsin for Bible school, and I'd go past one of their facilities, and I'll never forget their little sign out by the road one time said, ABS, our bulls always win the Easter egg hunt. I thought that was good. But anyways, so what was kind of was there a specific game-changing moment for you as far as your educational journey as it pertains to ranching is concerned?
Yeah, you were pausing there for a second. I was trying to figure out what in the world did I ever go to? Uh, Cattle genetics led to the Beef 706 course with UNL, and then there was a Beef Cow Basics home course you could do with extension, and that got me looking at grass a lot more. And that probably started where I was like, oh, they eat stuff. That's important. And how can we do better? And oh, there's actually money here if we manage it right. That was probably the start of looking at the range instead of just the livestock.
Let's take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsor today, Dominium Wealth.
Hey, it's Nick Costco of Dominium-Wealth.com. Did you hear me on episode 490 talking about how the infinite banking concept empowers you to take control of your money? Are you curious how your fellow ranchers are capitalizing on this concept? Did it leave you with some questions? You can get those questions answered at the Western Sustainability Exchange's Expanded Markets Conference, September 13th through the 15th in Columbus, Montana. I will be doing a breakout session there where we can dive into your questions. For more information on this event, check the show notes or visit westernsustainabilityexchange.org.
Was that the grass? Is that the game-changing interest or thing that started to capture your attention?
No, I would say the thing that captured my attention was we needed more land really bad.
Mm.
And so then by necessity, how can we make more of what we've got? And then so you get 200, 600, 1,000 acres, whatever, and all of a sudden we could run twice as many cows. And it doesn't happen like that, but pretty soon we were running twice as many cows, and it's like, well, my goodness, when we go back to having more land, why would we change what we're doing? And then to actually turn the knob a little tighter and start making even more progress with your grass. And I still care about animal husbandry. That's almost like a secondary thing. The first one is,
Yeah.
if they've got the right stuff to eat, if it's coming out of the soil correctly, and so it's definitely a we, right? Once we saw how much we could produce off of an acre versus the other way, we couldn't unsee it anymore.
What were some of the changes that you made that made it possible for you to produce more off of an acre than
On the average? So the easy one was we didn't put up hay. We grazed our meadows. That wasn't really that amazing, honestly. But on paper, we could buy hay cheaper. why in the world would we, and we could graze. There's a lot more stock days coming out of a hay meadow when it's going to cows than there is coming through a baler. And, all the nutrients you put back, all of these things, it just kind of really ramps up fast. It doesn't look like it from the road, but it looks like it on the balance sheet.
Mm.
But then tweaking that more, man, oh gosh, well, if we swath graze this or I mean, strip graze this, we can start controlling our rest, and then we'll have even more stock days. And I suppose that's a German Scottish thing of efficiency, and then don't quit all thrown into one. But the game changers, when Lisa could see it, that's when we were like, let's just keep moving forward.
What do you mean by that?
Well, she's the expert who could look out across the cows and be like, oh, that one's got a down ear. She always knew if the cattle were doing good. So if the grass looked good and the cattle looked good, she's like, let's do more of that.
Yeah, let's do more of what works and less of what
Yeah.
doesn't, right? Yeah. Where'd you go from there? I mean, we kind of talk a little bit about the extension, UNL, some of those home courses and some of that. What was kind of the next step for you in education?
I would say, Beef Cow Basics probably led to Whitman and the Gudmundsen Research Center. They'd had great stuff every summer, and you could go in there. So Jerry Valesky, Don Adams, other folks, Funston, we're going to talk about all kind of aspects that you could sharpen up on. And I started picking up more on grass, which led to uh, the Nebraska Grazing Conference, where you meet up with a bunch of nut jobs who are thinking that grazing cattle and rotating cattle and all those different ways of doing it, that just exploded in my mind. And then going ranch tours, getting out there, seeing people doing it, cold calling someone who was in an article and picking their brain about how I could bring that home and make that work. Um, I'd say it was probably in my wheelhouse anyway. I just never knew it. But once we got going on grazing, that was the number one focus.
What do you mean by that, in your wheelhouse, but you didn't know it? What was in your wheelhouse?
I think, well, if it's not a gift, it's certainly a passion. But I just love looking at the grass, wherever it is, what's down there, what's going on, how is it feeling? Um, and so getting exposed to those things, I got pretty excited about it. I just didn't know I was excited about it until I'd been exposed to them.
And who was facilitating the Nebraska Grazing Conference?
Oh boy.
Was that an organization or?
The one I can remember the most, I think it was Nebraska Grazing Lands Coalition. I'm not sure. I just remember we had Allen Nation there and Bob Budd, and it was a rock star packed house kind of thing. They've had Joel Salatin and lots of folks over the years, but there was a lot to learn, and it was all over Nebraska, and Nebraska is not all the same. There are so many different ways to graze in Nebraska.
Yeah, definitely. So, when was that? I think 93, you said you came back to the ranch. Probably about when was the Nebraska Grazing Conference, the first one you remember?
This one feels about like 98.
Okay.
I'm sure all numbers are wrong, man. Who
Right, yeah.
knows? But
It's just like doing cattle numbers on the fly. Pick any number. They're all wrong. What matters is the relationships, right? But yeah, so that's early to me. I mean, that's pretty early. Would you agree? I mean, was just kind of this stuff was just kind of coming into the public consciousness?
yeah, I think so. We could pick 2000 or something like that.
Sure.
It wasn't long after that I was so Stockman Grass Farm was a big thing. We had pasture chickens and we did everything crazy you could drink of. But then Ranching for Profit, a seminar for Ranching for Profit, which they had money and how to make money tied into grazing and ecology, and that I probably went to learn to graze better, but I started figuring out, oh, wow, we could flip this dial another time. And it it wasn't because I'm just that progressive. We needed to. It's swim or die, and that was the next thing to grab a hold of to swim better.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, because like Stan Parsons, Alan Savory came to the States in the 80s, right? Early 80s. Does that sound right to you?
That's probably accurate.
Yeah. And so then your journey's kind of late 90s, mid to late 90s. And then do you know when you went to the Ranching for Profit School for the first time, or when the seminar was?
Seminar was probably 2001.
Okay.
Ranching for Profit School, end of 2001 or early 2002. It's really close to that.
Yeah. Post 9/11, you would say then, just for a marker of when it was.
Okay. Sounds good.
Is that right? I'm just asking.
Interesting. I tied it to our daughter Jenna's birthday, so
Perfect. Better. That's better.
somewhere close to that. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a marker. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So what was different? What was new there? What kind of, yeah, again, the next step forward? What was unique about the Ranching for Profit School in your experience?
Oh boy, what was unique? 90% of it. Um, just to start really looking at your enterprises. It was just do what you do because everybody else does it. And then you break that stuff out and it's like, oh my gosh, why are we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? And again, is another one of those revelations, like, well, now I can't unsee this. And but it was also, you get into a crowd like that, and then instead of, oh well, how big are your calves? It's like, well, what's your gross margins?
Mm,
Just totally different conversations. And along with continuing education, we had continuing ed 3 times a year that was pretty high end, and being exposed to some things that I wasn't going to see at an extension meeting or a cattleman's meeting, because it was just quite a bit different. That, which led to like, well, now I'm hungry. How many different books are there? What else can I learn? And that, yeah, kind of created a monster.
and the 3 times a year, is that EL?
That was definitely EL, yeah.
Yeah. And what was it? First time through Ranching for Profit straight into EL for you, or what? What was that process
Yes, it
like?
was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who was your RFP instructor?
Oh my goodness. Now I'm getting
Uh-oh.
foggy.
Sorry.
Peter McBride.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Marlene Moore was actually repeating the course that time.
Nice.
And so I got to meet her right away. And I was like, man, if this chick can do it, I can do anything. She hasn't changed. She's just nothing but energy.
Yeah.
It's just energy.
She's east of you, is that right?
A little east, but mostly south.
Oh, mostly
Yep.
south. Okay. All right.
Yep. And she's north of the Kansas border, east of Colorado. It's pretty and it's dry, but
Huh. Okay. So then, yeah, into EL, and that, to me, there's education there, but there's also challenge, right? There's also getting pushback on your processes, your numbers, what's next. Was that your experience early on in EL, or has that developed over time?
no, it has always been my experience. I have people pushing me, asking me questions I don't have answers to, so I have to go home and figure it out. Um, I'm I'm pretty bad about procrastination, getting my homework done, and showing up prepared for a meeting. And that accountability was really important. Who wants to sit and admit that they're bad at getting stuff done or showing up prepared? But that was me. And that was what I got out of the EL, was a positive peer group. I mean, they didn't hit me with pool noodles, but they would hit me and expect more out of me, and that's how I got more. Also, the lame stuff was just hanging out with smarter people than me and absorbing it just by being with hard charging smarter people. That was huge.
How often in your experience is EL asking you questions you know the answer to, but you don't want to say out loud?
I would say at least 33% of the time, if not 50. Speaking for myself for sure, but being a facilitator, I've seen that where a lot of folks show up and so the wife already has been bugging the guy about this for years, but it takes the group in the executive link 2 years to get, the hard-headed guy to be like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Uh, that's a little bit sexist. It could be the other way around, but we could just say that was how it was for me.
Not in my experience, and thank God for gracious women, and specifically my wife, who doesn't take the opportunity to rub it in your face or tell you I told you so.
Yeah.
Maybe just one time, like, yep, that I've been saying that, and now we're done, and we're not gonna bring it up anymore. We're gonna move on, and we're gonna go forward together, which is great, right? So, okay, so what's next, or what has been the pattern after that? I mean, what other courses, what other resources, books, things that have kind of continued to be uh, sources of education for you?
Hmm. A book list or hanging out with folks who have just read a new book. Um, oh, come on. I'm working on some college courses right now, which just to get a degree. And I don't like some of those courses, but I'm learning in them. I'm learning a lot. Learning that it's harder to learn when you're older, which I don't even want to admit that, but it's a challenge to cut through some of these things. You might have to come at me at a different angle on that. What's next?
Well, just after Ranching for Profit, what were some of the things that other courses or resources, books, classes, I mean, Sell by Marketing, Bud Williams, Wally Olson,
Oh,
anything like that is all I'm
yeah,
asking there.
definitely. I got to do Sell by or the Bud Williams course with Ann. That was I liked that a lot. Um, and then learning to go travel to find more stuff. National Grazing Lands Coalition have a conference, or Nebraska would have a conference, or could get up to Montana. Any place where there's a symposium, the beef cow symposium is actually, it's been a while since I was there, but there was always just cutting edge stuff there. But to learn that I don't have to just go 5 miles down the road or whatever the cattleman's happens to be putting on, and used to totally take for granted how hard those people work to put on programs. Now I appreciate it, but, leadership, a lot of soil health stuff these days, and a little bit of Burke Tigert there, like, used to be all about cattle, then it was all about the grass, now it's all about the soil, and the rest of it takes care of itself if we focus on what's underneath there. I'm
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still doing lots of education, but I don't know what to say. What's next, or where I. It's just a winding road, man.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that's you and guys like you. What I've always appreciated is there's no arrival syndrome there, to borrow the term from Mary Jo Ehrman. You don't feel like you've arrived. There's always more to learn, right? And the Dunning-Kruger effect remains in play of the more I know, I don't know. I continue to just have to really apply myself, because I'm realizing there's way more to know than what I do know about these things, and you're never done learning, right?
If you think you are maybe, but
Right.
I yeah, I'm excited to just keep pushing it, and
Let's talk about leadership a little bit. You mentioned that earlier. give me some examples of leadership lessons learned, from any portion of your life. But, you know, I think, like you said, in your journey, I think is like a lot of people's, production based, right? We're going to learn about animals and genetics, and then we're going to learn about land, and then we're going to realize, oh, there's profitability at stake here, and we can go that direction. But, again, I don't know, for the 100th time, to quote Dallas Mount or more, I'm sure, you know, way back on episode 2, what's the biggest barrier to success in ranching? Without a doubt, he said, it's the people. So, yeah, has been the leadership learning and application for you, because you can succeed in genetics, land management, soil health, and to some degree to money management, and fail in people management and still be left ranching alone. Is that true in your experience?
That is like a picture perfect example of my last 5 years. So I was thinking about this yesterday when we were moving some cows, and one of our neighbors, who I have great respect for, always taught me, you can make a cow go anywhere she wants to go. And duh, or you could get all philosophical about it. But that applies to dogs and people and kids and everything. And so the Marine Corps was like, do it my way, do it as fast as you can, get it done because I said so, don't ask questions. Um, and it was also calm down, build a team. Everybody has their job. That doesn't ever work real good with cows on just do it my way. This year, I kind of came home to only just run our ranch with a little bit of day help. It's really been fun to be only in charge of myself, but knowing myself, I can be like a slacker as well. But if I've got 3 people waiting for me at the morning meeting at 7, I got to be up at 5:30, and I can't be a slacker. And something I had some folks last year I didn't really get to hire and fire and whatnot. Um, I think there's figuring out what kind of leader you are.
Mm.
For me, I'm fine being the leader. I want everybody on my team to think big picture. They need to be autonomous. I want autonomous people where my biggest job is making sure they have everything they need to do their job, and they don't have to call me twice in one day and ask me, "Where's my stuff? I'm waiting for you." Um, so I don't care when they get up or when they go to bed. I'm just interested in results. Some folks are micromanagers and they like robots and they want to move them around all the time. And they need to. And I think there's a lot of variation in those things. But the thing about leadership is just figuring out what your leadership style is so that you are on the right bus. And maybe, maybe you're supposed to be a loner. There's nothing wrong with that. Every now and then we get together, but some folks, that's, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of that, except if you find yourself in the wrong spot and it's uncomfortable all the time, it's probably not where you're supposed to be.
And kind of what I hear you saying is, different leadership styles, micromanager, lone wolf, somebody who's, empowering people to be kind of on their own, making their own decisions day to day, or at least throughout the day. Those aren't right or wrong leadership styles. They're just what they are, and you need to recognize which one you are. Is that what I hear you saying?
That sounds really good. The emphasis on recognizing which one you are so that you can fit in where you belong. Yeah.
Any powerful resources there for you that have kind of helped you unlock some of those things and come to those conclusions?
I would say I'm all wrong. There's been a lot of different things over the years with Executive Link. Uh, extreme ownership is pretty awesome. But if you Google that, you'll find 10 other things that are similar.
Sure.
but maybe just a little different angle to go towards it. But I quote that a lot.
Hmm.
It's um, off the cuff. That's the first one that comes to mind. But I'm sure there's 10 others that I've been able to be involved in.
Sure. What about the role of teaching, presenting, and facilitating in your own education? How has that? What role has that played?
Facilitating has really helped me. Uh, I get to be bossy, but I also get to sit on the sidelines where I'm supposed to. You just see so many other people's problems. It's just like going to a EL meeting, except I don't have to do my homework. That's really bad. It's extremely stressful. It is a real job because I super care about everybody that's in the meeting, trying to make sure everybody's in dialogue and nobody's overwhelming. But in the midst of that, you see so many businesses and all the things they deal with, whether it's leadership or whatever they're going on with. But um, getting into and then presenting, that's a lot of homework to do and get prepared so that I don't sit there and ramble and not make sense and have a point that I hope gives someone something to take home and make something out of. Um, I love to encourage and exhort, actually, was the deal. To draw out people's talents and encourage them to go just knock it out of the park. But
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, very good. Anything else that you would say on this topic of lifelong learning? Kind of other recommendations or anything else that we didn't cover here today that you think needs to be said?
well, something I want to keep doing is track down people who are older than me, or maybe they're younger than me at this point, but they have more experience in something. And just I like the conversations with the person in the back of the room. Just learn something, sit at a table with somebody I don't know. Love airplane flights and just getting a conversation with a complete stranger. I think there's a lot to learn from just plain people.
Hmm.
I like that a lot.
Yep. And I think all of this kind of goes back to the issue of humility, right? And being willing to learn from anybody. And again, back to that, not thinking I've arrived and I have nothing else to learn. That if you can keep that mindset, there's kind of endless opportunities to learn, right?
I want to hold on to that little alarm button in my head that goes off because somebody will bring me an idea like, hey, we should do this. Or what if we did this? And I'll be like, oh, I don't think that. Whoa, wait a minute. Since we have time, let's talk about it. Now, if that's in the middle of the storm, maybe we'll have to talk about it later, but let that alarm go off. So, oh, wait, listen, let's look into it. Let's check this out. You don't know everything. I could be missing out on. So now all of my stuff that I think I'm right on and grazing, and the kids might come to me and be like, oh, well, you should do this. And I'll be like, oh, no, well, stop. No, come on, old guy. Be open-minded and keep learning something. Uh, Now I'm the one that has to be, you know.
I want to do a little rapid fire here as we wrap up. And the alarm bell you're talking about is the when I hear myself saying that won't work here or some version of that, you want the alarm to go off and say, let's take more time and think about that a little more critically. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I thought you were saying, but I wanted to make sure I was understanding you correctly. Um, but yeah, like I said, I want to do a little rapid fire here as we wrap up, and just first resource that comes to mind in the four categories. So first, education resource that comes to mind in the land management category. What would you say?
Okay, it's just one of my favorites. I like 1491, the book 1491. I want to go as far back in time and try to understand the Americas the way they used to be. It's just it's not I found it to be amazingly eye-opening to just what did it used to look like?
Hmm. first resource, that's a great answer, by the way. I appreciate that. And then the first resource that comes to mind in the animal management category.
Do you mean cattle trading or stockmanship?
I mean, whatever you want that to mean, because we're going to cover money and people next. So there's your animals separate from money and people management. You can take it any direction you want.
I like knowledge retrenching. It's going to cover a lot of the other two questions, but there's several chapters in there that really, there's probably 7 other books, but if I had to pick one, that's it. It is really, really solid.
And these answers can be any resource at all, classes, courses, books, videos, anything. So on to the next one. Favorite resource, most impactful resources from a money management perspective.
Well, for my life, I liked, oh my gosh, Total Money Makeover with Dave Ramsey. I mean, I am in ag. I have ag loans. I have different things that we're doing. I even have conversations about, oh, well, that interest rate is so low, I should hold on to that loan and use my money elsewhere. But the fundamentals of hope you liked the car, and borrowing on things that are not assets that depreciate. That was been for money. That's been a great pillar for me.
And finally, people. Favorite, most impactful resource as it relates to people management.
I could talk about Proverbs, but for me, probably it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That leads to so many other books and things to look at, but that is really a foundation for how to get things done with people. There's probably something in there for me every year.
Very good. Okay, Derek, last word. Anything else you want to touch on or say here today?
Things I'm working on retiring to my next career, but that has mostly to do with helping others reach their God-given potential, chase their passions. So I'm always happy to talk to people, especially about the things that I have screwed up so that they can avoid making those mistakes. That's just, I'm all about the next generation. Even if they're 55 years old, I'm all about them succeeding.
How would people get a hold of you if they want to work with you for that?
I've got a website at cornerstonegrazing.com, emails cornerstonegrazing@gmail.com. You can call me, but I got a weird phone. Sometimes it will just send strange calls to voicemail. But
man, that sounds like a great feature. But
yeah, I'm missing out on some of them though.
Right,
It's like,
right.
hey, my aunt would call me like, it just went to voicemail. I didn't know she. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not really techie, but
Derek, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Clay. It was fun to talk to you.
Very good stuff there with Derek. Really appreciate him and his heart and his willingness to be transparent and share just about how he has learned over time and continues to learn and the ways that he's gone about doing that. So appreciated him sharing some of the maybe out of the box ways that he thinks about what his sources of learning have been throughout time. So coming up next on the Working Cows podcast, not exactly sure which direction we're going. I have some options on the table, probably going to share with you an episode of a podcast I was on from the UK. So kind of fun to be able to cross the pond, so to speak, right around the time of the Groundswell event over there and join some other ag podcasters and talk about lessons learned in ag podcasting with them. And so a lot of different perspectives on there. So I think I'll share that with you coming your way real soon on another episode of the Working Cows podcast. We'll see you then.
We invite you to visit workingcows.net to subscribe to the show via iTunes or Stitcher. You'll also find detailed show notes pages, resources from our guests, and the industry leaders who have influenced them. For more ideas on putting your cows to work for you in a more profitable way, tune in next week.